For those of you who don't know who Smash JT is, let me do a quick speed run of his YouTube history because that context matters here. Smash JT first gained wider audience by positioning himself as someone trying to hold a booby streamer accountable, which led to a very public feud with Tipster.
Hey Tipster, look what Smash JT posted. At Travis, talking to Destiny FOMO right now. Okay, good. This is why I distanced myself from Smash JT. Dude legit took it from criticism to legit harassment. This is the Susie Liu guy, by the way. The guy who was accused of being a harasser by Susie Liu. She has a much better case against Tipster than Destiny FOMO would have against Smash JT. Now in fairness, this isn't like an entirely forgotten story that people got wrong in the past, because Smash JT and his friends were unhinged. They constantly said dumb shit, they never really helped themselves, and Smash JT would go on to hop in DMs with literal doxers over drama with Tipster.
That was the moment a lot of people first noticed him. The next major chapter was the Intellivision Amico saga, where he went buddy-buddy with Tommy Tallarico and sunk around $10,000 into the project and went from being a critic of it to one of its most vocal defenders, right up until it became clear the whole thing was a scam. Sometime after that, Smash pivoted hard into culture war content. He put out over a dozen videos targeting a Kotaku reporter, claiming he was bravely exposing what Sweet Baby Inc. was really doing. And she was, in his own words, misread readers by leaving out key aspects of why Sweet Baby Inc. started the GG2 controversy. Things escalated further when Smash retweeted a post from a white nationalist-like guy that talked about killing her in Minecraft, in VR, because they were using Smash's in Kotaku hashtag. The situation got out of hand after Alyssa tried DMing Smash and him not giving a response. So Alyssa contacted Smash's wife on Facebook, and there's the start of that. Yes, ironically, that was the moment Smash's channel really started to gain traction. There's a lot of other stuff, just some of it in my previous video on Smash JT. Fast forward to now, Smash JT is sort of, again, ironically, almost inversely campaigning for boobies in games. And while he's no longer support of Tommy Tallarico, he is backing a different scammer this time, Grums. He's fine with the complete and utter unethical and insane claims Grums makes, and even willing to support it if he can get away with it, because the first person to expose Grums as a scammer made the serious mistake of reporting Smash JT's website for violating TOS after Smash published Grums' false claims that this person doxed Grums. Got so bad, Smash even tried to cancel this guy. And anyone who was actually really mad about how Smash went about it. And even more ironic is the second person, McDizzle Gaming, to expose Grums' Ember as a total and utter scam, arguably has a stronger case for saying they were doxed by Smash JT. Because not long after McDizzle did his video on the Grums scam, he exposed Smash JT for failing to properly vet the so-called insider sources he was claiming to have at the time. In response, Smash JT featured McDizzle Gaming's real name in a video on his channel that was close to 100k subscribers at the time.
Which is, for all intents and purposes, low-key doxing, is a very obvious attempt to direct Smash JT's viewers against McDizzle Gaming. Don't believe me? Here's what Smash JT had to say about a nearly identical situation when Alyssa Mercante published Smash JT's full name, albeit from what I gather that was done through court documents, as Smash JT is currently a defendant in a defamation case filed against him by Alyssa Mercante.
But by giving the full name, you are subtly implying that you are encouraging your audience to proactively dox a person. It's not even subtle, it's right out in the open. And you know, she can be like, oh, I'm not doxing him, I'm not doing anything. That's his name. People have written about him before. He's shared articles with his full name in it. It's like, yes, But when you, a known person that does not like me, starts doing it, it has a different implication.
And that brings us to the most relevant part of this video. Smash JT's ongoing lawsuit with Kotaku reporter Alyssa Mercante, and why recent events surrounding his hacker deserves a lot more scrutiny than they've been getting. Alyssa Mercante officially filed her lawsuit against Smash JT in December 2024, alleging defamation, harassment, torturous interference, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and one additional claim that confused a lot of people at the time:
stochastic terrorism.
Back then, that claim didn't make much sense to most observers, but as the lawsuit has proceeded, it's become clearer why her legal team included it.
Stochastic terrorism is when the distribution of propaganda via mass media meaningfully increases the likelihood of violent events taking place, particularly with a political motivation. The stochastic terrorist is someone who contributes to a political environment where violence is more likely to happen, but the violence itself can never be directly linked back to the stochastic terrorist.
Yes, a little weak, I know, but if she can actually prove there is coordination, by getting discovery and looking through his DMs, that might actually make it much, much stronger. But let me not get too far off the point. More importantly, that framing helps explain why other actors are now being named or referenced to in the case, without requiring proof of a explicit conspiracy. And that brings us to a recent development.
I use X for lots of communication to stay in the know with what I'm communicating with everybody every single day.
Also, a fun fact is he has been requested through Discovery to provide any DMs and messages connected to the case dealing with Alyssa Mercante and the people that he has connections with currently right now in New York, where they're trying to get jurisdiction. We're not complying with Discovery. They were in violation of their discovery and hadn't sent any information, with incredibly bad or incredibly vague reasons for why they can't do it.
There's much more to that stream. What I found most interesting is this tidbit that makes Smash JT's hack seem very convenient.
Grizzle sent this over here, so let's take a look. If you look it up, this name right here, the domain information, so the domain information comes up. What does that say right there? rightsnotice/x.com. Name, registered details is a Hot Singer Operations UAB out of apparently Lithuania, created 1/13/2026 at 22:54.
Why all of this might come off as suspicious and very conveniently timed. It might be a moot point, given Smash JT got his account back recently, and it seems he has complied with Discovery. And what has been publicly released of the court filings that I can find seems to be a rather odd assortment of DMs that Smash had with Hypnotic. Hypnotic is someone who has been incredibly supportive in propping up lies people have made against Alyssa Mercante.
To the creation of this server, the Steam page, and why they feel monitoring SBI work is important. Unfortunately, these general baiting questions were ignored by the stupid gamers, so she decided to go more direct, asking, is there a reason why many of you don't have your names and pictures associated with your accounts on here? Look at it, look at this. Look at this. Imagine being a Kotaku writer, and literally all she's doing is trying to get people to dox themselves, right? Trying to get people to dox themselves because she wants to send harassment their way. This is the same person who supposedly speaks against harassment.
Since this claim isn't one Hypnotic came up with himself, but surely amplified it to his audience, one might wonder how he would deal with being addressed with this much later on. And I managed to get a chance to ask him about it after he asked to join a live stream where I supposedly was going to be debating his friend on ethics versus efficiency.
Did she try to dox Kabru to the server? That's what you said?
Yes.
No, but she was trying to get real information, real life names and everything of people in there. So what she was
What
going
is
to do with
evidence for that?
that's literally her in the actual server asking for people's names, saying, why don't you guys use your real names? You guys should use your real
That's
names.
not asking for names. That's a question. There's a lot of things you can say about Alyssa, and some of them I might even agree with myself. But this one has always seemed like a reach to me. Alyssa Mercante, Kotaku reporter, asking that question about why they didn't use their real names always struck me more as a way to see if they would admit they're doing it so they can get away with being, at least in her opinion, the worst type of human beings, and not letting what they do online affect their real lives. Since her real name is out there, you figure it would be something on her mind. Now, whether that's the truth or not, we'll never know because they banned her, and that Park Place had this article making this out-of-pocket claim that people like Hypnotic treat it like fact. Compare that to how Hypno treated it when she and a family member got docked. He will make a post on X that on its surface sounds like he might be against doxing and no one should do it.
Why would you involve someone's family that had nothing to do with her actions? That was a reference to Smash JT. Then I said, seriously, what's next? Messaging someone's wife and trying to involve them in something that has nothing to do with them? I don't know how people are not following this post and understand. Like, if you know the situation and you know what happened with Smash JT, you should understand full on well that this is a sarcastic as fuck middle post here to showcase that, hey, maybe you shouldn't have been doing what you're doing in order to garner any kind of sympathy. Nobody's really going to give it to you, right?
But given the justification he sandwiches sarcastically in between these two very virtue signal-like sort of statements here, you would have to wonder why people would be suspicious that this is a dog whistle or something like that, and a wink wink nudge nudge to his audience that it's justified. You would figure if this was a serious matter, sarcasm might be out of place. But that's just me, a subjective reading of someone who's highly skeptical of both sides and many people in media. Just like I agreed with many people that Alyssa really should have put more details on the controversy between Cabrutus and Sweet Baby Inc. You know, the fact that a contracted member of Sweet Baby Inc. did, in fact, try to get Cabrutus's account and his sort of Sweet Baby Inc. detected ban would have probably went a long way to stopping much of what came after. But she does have bosses, and I'm sure there's some things she can't talk, and her own biases probably played highly into it, despite maybe if they didn't ban her, they could have explained more, despite, yes, a very loaded question from her. I bring all this up to really get into the topic about how doxing is being treated here, since this has come up many times from the start of this, such as the false Grums claim that Smash JT amplified on his site. I've just noticed when they make claims of being doxxed, there's no justification for it. But when it's those against them that are being doxxed, they do this Orwellian doublespeak that many in their audience will see as a justification. And they don't even have the sort of excuse Allison might have, that she has people above her in corporate interest and all that crap that I don't agree with, but they're independent. So this is a choice by the individual. Both the person who wrote that article from Park Place, claiming with rather weak evidence and a lot of loaded intent that she was trying to get their docs info. Bad faith is definitely what it was. Something Hypnotic amplified. Getting back into the DMs, at least the ones publicly available, via the lawsuit Allison has against Smash JT, there doesn't seem to be anything in them that's really that damning that I can find. So I don't know why the lawyers presented this set, maybe as proof of some suspicious activity of Hypnotic, because it's really clear that Hypnotic is doing his best to hide his location in the real world at least by these DMs, to avoid getting doxxed himself, and for some reason his business dealings. Maybe it's related to docs, who the fuck knows. Plus there's the existence of these Allison dedicated chats that really was something that was sort of hinted at existing from what was found why people were screen capping Smash JT's Discord. Still, none of these screenshots alone make Smash JT look like he's running some sort of op or conspiracy. If it makes anyone look bad, it's Hypnotic. But that's really surface level speculation based off of what is presented here. And almost ironic because, as you can see in the DMs, if you pause and read, Hypnotic understands why Smash is doing what he's doing, but it's clear Hypnotic doesn't want to get pulled into this lawsuit and sort of backing off from any Alyssa content, which, given all this crap, I can't blame him for. There's another element to this that I would be curious about seeing the DMs between two certain content creators. Now, recall what I said about Smash JT maliciously using McDizzle's real name in a video after McDizzle completely dismantled Smash's claim of having insider sources. Let's not even get into the smear campaign that they launched against this smaller YouTuber after the fact, claims being made that really haven't gone anywhere to this current day. Why Smash JT was sort of spinning out of control during that situation. And I know people overuse the term crashing out, but in this case, it genuinely applies. And that really only becomes clear if you watch the beginning of the live stream from the beginning. Something I was fortunate enough to catch and save a backup of. Well, guess who conveniently popped up on that live stream? Someone who's also a core member of Hypnotic's Saturday Night Hypnosis. To reassure him he was in the right and totally did nothing wrong. Leon from Words of Paradise is someone I've talked to a few times before on stream.
A woke virus, if you're polite or try to argue in good faith. So far, I mean, I would say that has been proven factual, but let's see. They don't care and just exploit your sense of empathy and fairness. Again, I would say that is 100% accurate. This is how you get into geek communities. No, so here's the thing. I don't know how much you follow, current events, politics, anything outside nerd culture, but we have seen this over the course of the last decade. I don't know if you were around for Gamergate 1. I've been heavy in politics for a long time, but this is something that we've seen in mainstream and niche politics, as well as just pop culture, and not even pop culture, but culture at large, for literally a decade now. So what he's stating here is based on statements of or experiences of 10 years worth of culture shift. So you might not like it, but I don't know that you've got the decade of experience that, for example,
I have enough experience and enough research in the Gamergate from the past to say that the woke DI is getting a pushback. So this would be the time to take these leftists to the table and have discussion. And despite him trying to come off as a middle ground type of guy in front of at least Smash's audience,
we're 1 minute in, and homie in a video about you still couldn't help but mention Grums. Again, look, honest criticism from a middle ground individual, McDizzle. Why should we take you seriously when your entire personality comes off as having a vendetta against Grums, especially considering myself, Hypnotic, Smash, have all also called out Grums multiple times?
Yes, the middle type of guy who've criticized Grums before. Let's just fact check it by checking their channels. So, first criticism, Grums is wrong about Sonic X Shadows Generation. Grums just made it impossible to critique Dragon Age Veilguard. Grums is wrong about Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Grums take a massive L over Elden Scrolls 6 tweet. Oh, here's a personal. Grums doxed by unhinged gaming journalist followers. There are the critiques of Grums from Leon. Let's see Hypnotic. Nope. Attacks Grums, after Grums, threaten Grums. Tellerblade Savior, Grums gets dark. Fake news. Blames Grums, attacks Grums Grums targeted, attacks Grums, Dax Grums, destroyed by Grums. Now over to Smash JT. Well, you can't judge a book by its cover. Clearly, they must have criticized Grums somewhere else. It must have not been that big of news for him to not actually use his name in the title. Okay, well, I'm sure maybe they did it in one of their, many live streams, like on Friday. I'm sure they've done that on one of their many streams before, but clearly it's not headline-worthy news. They would rather make assertions about Grums getting doxxed when he didn't, but they have a strange relationship with the word dox. And I have to wonder why Leon is trying to make this weird argument about what a echo chamber McDizzle's audience is.
Bro, every single one of these comments except for one so far has agreed with him implicitly. How is this not an echo chamber?
It's either an echo chamber naturally or he's blocking any negative comments.
Why Smash speculates something he doesn't know anything about. Then right after that, he comes across a certain comment.
Me and Hypno destroyed this dude in a debate. Fuck this guy.
So, in response to coming across my incredibly stupid comment, he just claims that him and Hypnotic 2v1 destroyed me. Why I won't say I won that debate, because frankly, I deny that it was even really a debate of ethics versus efficiency, but I think Leon is being rather honest here. He wasn't there to debate me on anything. He was there to destroy me. Like, how can I win against someone who thinks the ethical argument involves how many views someone gets on their channel? He started getting bigger, hiring more people. One of those people plagiarized another video, and that sort of brought him some shame. Okay, that's what happened when he sort of lowered his ethical standards to just make content instead of making content he likes.
He was around for 15 years. Someone fucking plagiarized once, and it has not hurt his fucking view count whatsoever. I'm gonna interrupt your outro because you're a fucking idiot, Vincent. Angry Video Game Nerd. Angry Video Game Nerd has been around since 2006. Someone plagiarized his shit in 2019. It was Newt, by the way, because I'm actually a big fan. I follow it. Newt fucking plagiarized one article in 2019, and it has not hurt his subs or his view count whatsoever. You're living in a fucking fantasy, you goddamn retard.
You goddamn loser. I don't care about view count.
But you're objectively wrong.
Leon, I don't want to mute you. Just let him get it out so we can go.
Standards. You're objectively fucking wrong.
Frankly, I don't care much about winning. I use that stream and my chosen topic of at least ethics to confirm something I suspected for a long time about both Leon and Hypnotic. They intentionally avoid having any standards at all, what you might want to call ethics, so that no one can use those standards against them, because that's exactly what they do to others. They weaponize the standards selectively, and when their in-group is criticized, they will try to use that critic's standards back against them, even if they have to make up what standards that the critic actually holds. And given their standards shift depending on what's most convenient at the time, always struck me as very interesting. They usually rely on these appeals to common sense or popularity, numbers, comments, like, etc., etc. When those fallacies don't work, they default to ad hominem attacks. Why I suspect it for a long time, I didn't have anything I would call solid evidence of this sort of mindset of them, until the Colin Smash debate happened, and it served as very clear evidence for this mindset of theirs. Their rules for thee and not for me mindset, and almost unilaterally everyone in the sphere picked up on this narrative that Smash JT used to sort of cope about how badly the audience in his own fucking stream got him down. Of course, Colin's audience would have been there to support him, and haters of Smash. That doesn't change anything. Smash still lost in the polls, so he's got to run this sort of campaign to try to rewrite history, it seems. And of course, Leon, anarchist, would lean into this rules for radical style of tactics. Hypnotic also strikes me as someone willing to use whatever tools that are available to help him win. You see, they care more about winning than less about the truth, it seems. It's a very Sargon of Akkad approved behavior, and Grum seems to be imitating very similar playbook that Sargon of Akkad pulled in the original Gamergate days. So let me explain how I think he fits into all of this. And for the audience out there, there's going to be a bit of speculation here based off of what is actually presented and what I know, because it seems like Smash's primary priority appears to be reputation and clout. Money is a likely bonus, but considering how much he's sinking into this lawsuit, it's hard to say that profit alone is anyewhat of a motivation. It could have been in at one point and he lost sight of it because of his own fucking ego, but that's a different point altogether. What is clear is that Hypnotic likely never wanted to be pulled into this lawsuit, which makes it more plausible that his motivation aligns with what many people call grifters. Smash, on the other hand, seems to be driven by a mixture of reputational management and image control. But I really don't think he's steering the ship, but maybe I just think he's too dumb to do that, and he has me fooled on that. Like with Cabrutus and his little posse gatekeeping him, seems like Smash is being guided by multiple forces, including audience pressure, something he's bowed to in the past, and the creators around him. And that's what makes him the perfect, or in this case, imperfect frontman for this movement. Out of this group of Gooner Gators, we got Hypnotic, who remains the more mysterious figure. Not much known about him. He clearly exhibits paranoia about doxing and why getting doxed would obviously be bad, and there's a lot of other shit associated with that. I don't think that alone explains his behaviors here, but I'll refrain from speculating beyond what the sort of evidence supports, despite them making even more insane conspiracy theories themselves with almost no evidence to support it besides a very ignorant sort of cherry-picked shit and the masses within their movement echoing it like it's true. Then you have Leon, an anarchist who doesn't meaningfully align with the left or right. He takes whatever position benefits him in the moment, while almost trying to present himself as the reasonable centrist role, despite him having a clear disdain for anyone who actually aligns more with that position than himself. Whether he does it more for money or for more abstract, burn it all down, a political motivation, or even because he's so pathetic he has no IRL friends he can go to and this is sort of his substitute, is rather unclear. What is clear is that he probably prefers not to lie outright, but he will do so, or at least twist into the truth if necessary, along with plenty of other questionable behavior that I don't even want to fucking get into. Now, there's others in this group that I could highlight, but Leon and Hypnotic are the most directly relevant to Smash, at least directly from what I've seen. Plenty of fucking people fluffing him up, pushing his shit out, blindly believing what he says, and just going along with his tune. Believe all Smash JT claims, I guess. The rest can basically be summed up by talking about Hypnotic's knockoff of Friday Night Tights, Saturday Night Hypnosis, which serves a couple of different purposes. One, to pretend they aren't in an echo chamber with all the diversity they have there, while claiming everyone else is actually really part of one. In practice, their disagreements are minimum over trivial stuff, which they extend infinite good faith to each other, and rarely lets people with genuine disagreements with them on. And when a outsider criticizes something that goes on in the show, they do this whole bit about, yeah, I disagree with that, but not provide any sort of pushback on it. Not in reality. One such incident happened with this reality-based guy, and that I covered the debate afterwards with Smash JT against another guy.
I don't take content creation serious. I never have. I always try to have a fun time. And Hypno, he's tried his best to defend me, and I'm very appreciative of that. Yes, a lot of regulars on SNH don't like the fact that I speak my mind, because it does make them uncomfortable, and I find it funny.
Now, all of this helps highlight why Smash JT is an imperfect frontman for many of the people in this movement to get behind. Well, at least most of the time, because he's a family guy. His Homer Simpson-style charm appeals to many terminally online and possibly bodied audience, programmed in there. His background gives him just enough credibility to call himself a gamer, even though that's rarely what he's known for doing with his content. Yes, it's semi-related, but mostly about drama in that sphere. His QA testing history helps convince his people that he might understand the gaming industry, a illusion that the Colin debate thoroughly dismantled. He's also extremely willing to pivot, reframe, and cope. Again, take the Colin example, how he was for the business when he was more for reality, and Smash JT was for the consumer, even though it's over pretty much the facts of the matter. Now, I'm not sure if he really believes people follow him for his gaming takes. Maybe he does, but probably not. His public image is shallow, much like the Make X Beautiful post that he's been doing recently. Largely artificial, often computer generated, and likely propped up by bots and NPC brain type in one form or fashion. The rest of SNH crew are a loose collection of misfits whose audience most likely have overlap with gropers and fans of Dave Smith's comedy. Ultimately, Smash functions as a perfect victim, the figure they can always point to and say, look at all the harassment Smash JT is getting just for having an opinion. And yeah, what he does cause harassment, clearly. And it's difficult to directly tie the harassment campaign that the people Smash likes to target, like Alyssa, back to Smash himself. Not saying Alyssa doesn't put the target on anyone, but trying to do this whole who harasses more and who encourages more harassment really isn't my cup of tea. And discovery might reveal something more concrete, or not. It's really hard to tell, because this isn't Smash's first time operating in this territory. Even if he's reckless, he's not stupid. Well, not that stupid. He knows how to spin situations, so he gets to hold others accountable, why anything directed at him counts as harassment. But only time will tell if this will catch up to him. As a final end note, a point of comparison. Someone, much younger, but sort of does the same sort of thing to a higher degree, who has well-documented ties to a known harassment group, Roadblock's drama commentator Parlo, with his ties to Defender of the UTTP, still might be able to weasel his way out of the sort of a clear connection than the usage of harassment for his own benefit, indirectly or not, by focusing on the harassment that's occurring at him. That's more like a victimization network if you really get into it. So not identical to the Smash vs. Allison thing, because Allison's a Kotaku reporter, not someone in YouTube gaming news crap, no matter what you think about her reporting abilities. But in Parlo's case, the harassment on his life, against his life, or however he wants to frame it, is more obvious, and he amplifies that to the degree. But so is his ties to those who are very willing to harass others in return, even if there's no real messages that's been leaked of him saying, go out there and harass this person can be found. There's a lot of things he uses plausible deniability for. So I will close things out with a short video that highlights the strongest evidence for that.
Because it has come to my attention that a group chat has leaked revealing how Parlo played a part in Potamer's doxing and swatting. Defender is known as a UTTP member and has been featured on Parlo's channel before. In Parlo's video titled The End of the UTTP, which came out on August 17, 2024, he would claim they were part of the good side of the UTTP. This is the most we know about Defender, as he is pretty anonymous online, but this confirms Parlo and Defender had a connection before. In this group chat recording, we can see the exact same roster as in the previous video, and here they would discuss Potamer's personal information. I've gone out of my way to censor any private information to avoid harassment.
Hates Potamer so much.
Maybe he is a Jew.
I would explain in order.
Let me ask you this question. Why would Parlo talk about this information with Defender and Antitroll when they have nothing to do with the situation? Why would they be looking for addresses, reposting Potamer's face and Potamer's mom's face multiple times as a joke, and looking for accounts? I believe it's because Parlo knew he was a shady character and he would do illegal actions against Potamer, such as what we'll get into. We even have proof that Defender didn't know this information up until Parlo told him, with Antitroll stating, "Where'd you even get this?" And Defender replying, Parlo, and Parlo has a contact with a friend of Potamer. It may have been Puss, one of Potamer's IRL friends, but this hasn't been confirmed. Potamer would be swatted live, and we could see Defender in the call and speaking. Here's the clip.
Hello, I was walking by a street and I heard gunshots and like someone ran out of the building. I don't know what to do. Yeah. And